All right, everyone. Welcome to the bi-weekly ITRA Tech Rental Industry webinar meeting. I don't know what to call it, webinar or meeting, but welcome. Today we have Robert Torres of 302 Interactive. We're going to interview him. We'll open up the floor to questions and answer Q&A, and learn a little bit, hopefully today, of some technology that maybe you're not that versed with, maybe you are. But all the same, we look forward to a good meeting and a good interview. How you doing today, Bob? Is it Bob, Robert, Bobby, what?
Yeah, you can call me Bob. It's okay. I'm Robert Raoul the third. And once you become the third or the fourth down that line, people just call you whatever they want.
Got it. All right. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Again, everyone that's here, welcome. The attendance is getting a lot better, which I'm glad of. We intend to bring valuable content. That's the whole purpose of this, valuable content. And then the Q&A portion is, I guess, more so about networking. So we'll go ahead and get started. I want to ask you, Bob, how long you guys been in business?
Yeah, we've been in business about 6 years, 6.5 now, I think. And we started as actually a video game studio with some really niche ideas about how to make video games. And then we spent about 2.5 years figuring out that we weren't going to make that video game, and got here in the Orlando, South Florida, or southern United States. Here is a big emerging tech and simulation industry. So we pivoted our business and started doing emerging tech is an industry term for basically a lot of the cutting edge technology. AI is included in there, virtual reality, the mixed realities. And we started cutting our teeth on a lot of that with government contracts, and then started focusing more on consumer products and consumer goods.
Okay. Well, let's start with explaining to us what the differences are between AR, VR, and XR. XR is the newest, is that correct?
Yeah, I put together a couple slides here to help maybe visualize that just a little bit. So if you guys don't mind, I'll share my screen real briefly here. So XR is actually most commonly used in kind of an all-encompassing terminology. When I say that, I mean XR will encompass virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. XR stands for extended reality. Mind you, if you want to get into the minutia of XR or extended reality, there's actually kind of that fourth, like you mentioned, Bruce, almost sector or subsector of basically the virtual spaces, or spatial computing rather. And I'll kind of break those down for you. Virtual reality, probably the most common. I've been around since the 80s, and even before that. What people are most common to seeing were a head-mounted display. Somebody wear that, it covers their eyes, and somebody is fully immersed. So their senses, for the most part, are fully immersed in the virtual world. So augmented reality, something that's kind of new and emerging in the last 4 or 5 years. If you have kids, nephews, grandchildren, Pokemon Go is probably something that you've come across. Today, most exposure to augmented reality comes in mobile format. Right? People have their cell phones, they have tablets, they're poking around. And in augmented reality, you're seeing a virtual overlay on the real world. These days, and what you're going to see in the future with Apple's upcoming announcements, companies in China like Nreal are creating now head-mounted displays just like VR, where they're almost like sunglasses, where you have a pass-through with displays that will overlay the virtual into the real world.
Well, let me ask you a question before you finish, just to interrupt real quick. When the VMAs did that big performance, what was that? I thought that was XR or ER.
Yeah, so in the VMAs, that is a mix, right? Where we kind of go into mixed reality, where it is the real world um, overlaid with the virtual, but it's almost like grounded in the real world, where it's interactable. People can kind of touch it and 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 feel it, where it has a tactile, but it also has a virtual overlay with that. So it kind of blends the two. And Bruce, you brought up a good point there, where augmented reality is also something that you kind of experience on an everyday basis, not just through mobile devices, but in the daily news, where you have your weather reporter kind of, stepping into the heart of a storm, or where they're walking through a green screen. That right there is mixed reality on a day-to-day basis, where you have the physical, where somebody is actually interacting. Mind you, it's all prompted in real time by an operator behind the scenes. But yeah, that is blending the two. But today, what we're talking about, I guess, is more of consumer accessibility, where you don't have to have this operator and a very high tech setup. So these terminologies are now coming to the forefront, right? Where it's not just this very exclusive production trick; it's a consumer product.
Got it. So COVID-19, when that hit, how did business change for you guys?
Yeah, so like most businesses, I think there was a shock in most markets, if not all. Either positive or negative. So in that sense, we were hit negatively at first, and then a real bounce back um, kind of came about with immersive tech, right? So we lost a lot of our in-person event contracts. We're doing a lot of work with big marketing agencies to do uh, interactive installations, and those, like you guys, I'm sure you're aware, events went by the wayside for the rest of the year. Um, what we started picking up business, and that bounce back occurred, is in virtual events, um, VR spaces where meetings were happening, where virtual conferences were taking place, where virtual activation. So that same activation that we were planning to do in a real conference space, marketing agencies and clients were asking us to do it in a virtual space for them. The technologies now and the platforms for delivery of these virtual experiences have just become so accessible, where they can, you know, send a link to their executive team for, let's call it a virtual retreat, and on their browser they can go ahead and access kind of a virtual world. Or we even had a client recently that was sending headsets out to an executive team to go ahead and take part in a virtual conference. So that sending of the headset and a package for this virtual event was actually part of the experience, right? I think even now, to kind of tie this back into ITRA, um, there's even opportunity there to your rental setups, now that these platforms are much more accessible, portable. You're sending less equipment, and the technology. Even some of the partners that we work with have management systems that you can remotely manage these devices as long as connect to the internet, um, for your clients. And they package it up, in a Pelican, and they send it back to you. Um, so during COVID, you're just seeing a huge spike in entertainment mediums, and complementary or even replacements for in-person events.
So when it hit, and I guess business picked up for you guys, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So business picks up. Did you see any companies that disappeared that were your clients, and what type of companies were those? And I'm gonna adjust my volume, but I still answer the question, please.
Yeah, in our space, in the spatial computing and digital frontier technologies, that's kind of where we exist. We saw that our industry grow exponentially, where we saw market forecasts for the next 5 years for AR and VR technology actually be forecasted higher, to exceed over 200 billion. I think where our clientele actually started to slip, like I said, mostly in experiential marketing agencies. Marketing agencies specializing in in-person experience and activations. Um, that's where uh, some of our clients either had to pivot or actually most of them did pivot to either digital or what have you. Um,
The events,
what's
basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've had friends that actually quit their jobs in events planning and events management during this time. Close up shops or small shops, but still.
Well, alternatively, what was the industries or client-specific industry that kind of flourished, I guess, and what kept you guys busy?
Yeah, gaming was huge um, for us. I mean, we're seeing we have a couple clients right now that we've been working with since the beginning of the pandemic. Actually, started some of that work right around the February March time as things were kind of progressing in the U.S. Um, that we are, they're very much big investment into mobile augmented reality games and virtual reality games.
So you guys are basically, I guess, a rental company, but you're one specific item, or not one item, but a small range of items. And so when COVID hits, you're just sending things out, and no longer are you guys going, correct?
Yeah, we're the content creator, so where we live is kind of almost the fuel for the vehicle, right? If the renters have the hardware, we have the applications, or we develop the application solutions that go on the hardware. Sometimes very custom. Sometimes we white label some of the solutions that we have. Um, you know, one of those is we have an augmented reality white labeled application. Um, that for the most part, the beginning of 2020 was really popular for our clients that were doing in-person events. From then, kind of switched over more to virtual reality or web-based virtual experiences.
So if I'm a rental company and I want to use you guys' content, we on my end, I need to get the hardware, and then you would supply us with the software, basically, content.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely. Absolutely. We would supply content, and we also have partners that actually do management solutions for the hardware and the software. So you can, see who's using the headset, when it's on, what they're doing, in the game. If your clients actually care about that, right? Taking potential advertising data points, mining that, and then selling it back to them. Um,
So what and I'm just putting myself in the shoes. I do own a rental company, but I as the any rental company. So now I am interested, right? And I don't know anything about it, but I called Bobby and say, Bobby, what do I need to get? You tell me, well, go buy this, this, and this, and I go buy it, and it comes, and I'm looking at it like I don't know what this is, right? So you will you come out, show us what to do, or is it something that you can show us over online? Or via, a Zoom call or something.
Yeah, very specifically, and with some of the work that we've done in the past, we usually provide all of the materials that you would have like a technician. Um, 'Cause the reality is, yeah, if you're a business person, you want to focus on economies of scale. You don't want to pay one of my guys to come out there and manage your equipment. These are highly trained spatial computing engineers, and they're not worth your money, right? What we would do and have done in the past is create this documentation to run the application,
Okay.
um, and then built-in management options and settings for just an operator, somebody that you can pay, $12 an hour to manage the equipment on site if needed, right?
Right.
So, we did a project. Um, with one of our partners for the Coast Guard, and that was fully operatorless. And it was a VR setup with a 6 degrees of freedom, headset and motion simulation chair that the person could launch the application all in the headset, and it was all very seamless. So the technology and the systems behind the technology has progressed in such a way that, yeah, sure, you might want an operator there to active security or to even wiped out some equipment, let's say, if you're doing like a public event. But most of the time, let's say if you're shipping off headsets to, a series of clients that are doing remote events and people are still working from home or they're working across the globe, you can send that to them with basic instructions how to operate the headset and launch applications, and they'll be just fine.
So just out of curiosity, what event was that where you had the chair and you said it was 6 points of freedom? You were just what type of event was that?
Yeah, that there was a Coast Guard was going on tour, and basically doing recruitment campaign, and they would take that, um, and take a series of chairs and travel the country to do recruitment and things like that.
Okay. And not to get into the minutia of it, so if it's a chair, are we sending a chair for certain events also? Because I'm assuming it's a special chair with a huge case, right?
Yeah, this will in this specific uh client. Yeah, there was a very chair is much smaller than you'd expect, but yeah, there's other equipment that would have to be sent. And but the chair and the VR headset was all integrated, so it's one unit. You pack it up, stick it in the back of a trailer.
Okay.
Setup was, I mean, really easy. Find a power supply, really, and everything's on arms. You just pull it down, and
I did learn today that XR is an all-encompassing term. I thought XR was just the top of the line of reality technology. Um,
yep.
if
And Bruce, our studio and a lot of the big consulting firms like the Accentures and Deloitte of the world, they kind of set the definitions of these terminologies almost on an annual basis. With extended reality, it is kind of that all-encompassing term. But even now, like as you pointed out with I think it was the VMAs, that can also be defined as extended reality, right? Because we're talking about so many mediums, with virtual overlays working together.
Okay. So what does this technology matter for the rental industry, which is most of our, if not all of us on this call today?
Yeah, absolutely.
A little bit, but maybe there's other areas or of to focus.
Uh, I think for us, we are seeing big booms in training, and simulation. A big one right now, uh, and if you're in the U.S., even other countries, right? Um, Medical professionals often, when they are trained in a college setting or almost like a boot camp type setting where they're out there for a week, 2 weeks to learn a very specific craft, and then they do not get to use it for extended periods of time. Um, so I think an advantage for an opportunity for rental companies is to work with content creators like us and fill that need for the hardware side of things for, let's say, a conference that's doing remote training for 100 people across the globe to learn this very specific surgery. I do have a video that I think Oculus is one of the major hardware providers, as you guys might be aware, and they partnered with a medical institution to go ahead and create this content. So now imagine this, um, where you would rent out the hardware, you partner with the content creator, and the headset's already loaded with the software. And now you can do trainings across the globe, right? And those training solutions, like I said, they're not going to happen every day. Hospitals, it's not going to consistently train on this thing every day, or this association's not going to train on it every day. So they're going to contact you. They don't want to hold this hardware. They don't want to maintain it. They're going to find a partner to go ahead and rent that out when they do need it.
Right. Nice. So that's kind of one of the answers also to the other question, to the next question, which is what applications are you seeing in these industries?
Yeah, training and simulation is a big one. I, if you bear with me one moment, I can show you. I love to show these videos. There's one in particular that I think's my absolute favorite, and really encompasses that term extended reality and what is possible, even for hardware rental providers.
The medical is a always a big industry for our for rentals as well as gaming.
you guys hear that?
No.
Let's see. There's not a whole heck of a lot of sound in this video.
This is Oculus's job that they had.
Yeah.
And this is what you're seeing if you're wearing the heads or the headset, I guess it is.
Right. So in this demonstration, um, Oculus created a VR application to train a very specific treatment for some sort of illness that medical professionals are only getting trained on once every 5 years, right? And they may experience that once a year in an ER. So now with this VR solution, they can retrain on it as many times as they need to, and have that exposure.
Does the setup look like what the guy in the video is wearing?
Yeah, so that he's just wearing a headset. In this video, he's actually wearing one that's connected to a PC. Oculus now just released, I think at the end of September, their second version of their Quest headset, which is fully standalone, so no wires. Right? It's powerful equipment that would run many of these applications that were created 2 years ago. As technology is so rapidly progressing, we're seeing platforms like Oculus and these makers like HTC Vive focus on standalone headsets, because that is where the future of kind of the consumer technology is. Right, not everybody can afford a $2,000 gaming PC. So standalone headsets is where these hardware manufacturers are focusing their efforts, and rentals. I mean, that is absolutely the future. Even here, when Oculus released their first headset, I think everybody in our office bought one. We bought several of them. So it is makes the technology more accessible. It's more portable.
Oculus is a manufacturer. Is that correct?
Oculus, correct.
So I know you mentioned earlier that you guys do have some hardware or do supply some hardware. Is that correct?
No, we don't. We usually don't supply hardware. We will always consult clients on the hardware needs for any particular project. Doing all the research, even leveraging our own partnerships with hardware manufacturers to source product. So we don't usually rent.
And is there a competitor for Oculus?
Yeah, HTC Vive. There's a Chinese company that is definitely a powerhouse in the standalone headsets called Pico, Pico.
Okay, so I want to ask, how in what way could 302 Interactive help the members of the International Technology Rental Association?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are content creators through and through. Where we work best is we either work with your clients or work with our clients to deliver on these rental solutions. We don't carry any hardware. Right now, I'm working with a client who absolutely needs dozens of headsets for a mobile event that they're going to be doing through 2021. There's opportunity there. We don't ever plan on carrying headsets. We're going to be software providers till we exit or till something catastrophic happens. I think the opportunity there is for us to either create white label applications for your clients through your hardware platforms, or vice versa.
Bruce, there's a question there from Bert to everyone in the chat. Which are the brands of VR equipment most popular for rentals? And what should the ITRA members focus on next year? What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Oculus is definitely the leader right now with their Quest 2 headset. I'm glad to share some links to some more information about upcoming hardware and things like that. But they Facebook owns Oculus. they are positioning themselves as a
Leader.
leader, cornerstone in the market, because they are pricing their new equipment so aggressively. The new headset is $300. That's a standalone headset. You don't need any other equipment with that.
That's a good price.
It's like I said, it launched in September. We're going to see that as probably being a top holiday gift, next to the PlayStations and the Xboxes.
So is that a consumer or is that a rental type of product also?
That's a consumer product. Now, Oculus this year in 2020 launched a program called Oculus for Business, where they have a little bit of a pricier headset. It's actually the starting point is $500. It's the same platform, mostly the same hardware, but the software side is fully customizable. So let's say you wanted a brand, I know the ITRA is an association, not this private revenue generating company, but it is let's say one of your companies want to go ahead and brand the heck out of these headsets, right? Have your own software on there, launch your own applications. Oculus for Business is, you partner with them to go ahead and offer that to you. So with a starting point of $500 for the headset, plus working with a content creator like us to kind of create custom applications, custom launchers like what the user's going to see when they put on the headset to kind of click around and maneuver. That you're giving yourself the advantage of the hardware and the flexibility of a solution that you and your specific clients are going to use over and over again.
So if we wanted to get into this, bring this in as another line of a rental line in our stock, you're saying the $500 headset is probably where we would have to start or need to start. Plus, if we want to use 302 interactive content.
Yeah, right, and it's for that flexibility, right? Where you can kind of cater to the needs of your clients. Now, when you get the $300 headset, it's all, you're using the Oculus platform, right? Which, for better or worse, right? It's a very it's their experience, not yours.
Right. When you go ahead, I'm sorry.
There's a learning curve there, right? When we work with clients on even talking about the other company I mentioned with Pico, they had an open platform that we are allowed to use before Oculus had this program. So creating custom launchers was key for all of our clients that ever deployed these headsets, because they didn't want to go through almost like an app store experience, is what these hardware manufacturers provide out of the box. They wanted a very custom experience, because a doctor at a physical therapy facility doesn't want to put a headset on somebody's head and then they go into an app store. They want to go right into the physical therapy application.
It's similar to iPads in the way we use iPads in the rental industry. So when 302 Interactive has a client direct, and like you said, you guys don't get into hardware, what's your step? Where do you have one company that you go to and say, I have this client, I need your hardware? Or you send the client to the company? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I think you described it in kind of both ways that we would approach it. Often cases we would manage the client, and we would work with a hardware provider such as yourself to source the hardware. We would kind of act as a middleman in that way. Or sometimes, depending on the specific solution, if it was a long-term project, it might be better for us to just pass them off to you as one of your long-term clients and say, hey, they're going to continue to need your rentals, rather than like a one-off, 1 month, it's one weekend installation, where it's easy for us to just say, hey, we'll send you the headsets and you guys can work through us.
Okay, sounds good. We can open the floor up to questions. I think I'm checking now to see if Bert I think he had another question. Just buying the headsets without the developer license, Oculus in business will it be, I guess, sufficient for rental?
Yeah, Oculus will work with you on what if you have an app, let's say you guys have your own app, right? they will work with you on getting that application installed on the headset. So there's a very it's a B2B service that they provide. So it's not just buying the hardware from them. When you go through the Oculus for Business program, they basically connect you with an account executive. They figure out what type of needs you have, and each headset, like I said, is starting at 500. Depending on the amount of work it takes them, the price goes up from there. But with us, working with like our studio, we don't necessarily, Oculus provides that, like what we call like a professional service. We would be your professional service provider rather than Oculus.
Okay. We have another question from Steve Lamana. Didn't Abcom/SmartSource invest heavily in this a couple years ago? This meaning Oculus.
Yeah, I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with Avcom or SmartSource, and so I can't comment on the nature of the investment.
They're ITRA members, but
okay.
That's the reason for the question.
Hello, Chad's here from SmartSource and Avcom.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks. So to answer the question that was posed is we did not invest heavily in the product. We invested in the HoloLens, and we're partners with the HoloLens product. So that the Oculus we have not invested heavily in up to this point.
Okay.
I stand corrected.
And Chad, I mean, I have some questions of my own. Yeah, HoloLens is definitely, in my experience and with the couple clients that we've had for HoloLens in the past, it's very much an enterprise solution. It's not something that you're deploying to for very entertainment purposes. So can you comment on a little bit of what you guys, what type of clients kind of rented out the headsets?
Also, Chad?
Sure, absolutely. So, hey, Bobby, to that point, we actually are a partner. Microsoft is the direct customer of ours. We manage an asset management component for them. So we send the product out on their behalf to their enterprise basis for a demo pool component, as well as we have bought and procured that asset for certain clientele, experiential marketing and the sort, where they utilize it for very, very precise focused environments, CEO, CFO based, really think tank environments, because unlike the Oculus product, that product is very, very expensive.
Thanks, Chad. Appreciate that. Okay. I have another question. All right.
So, Bruce, do you mind me jumping in? Robert, where I see a lot of this happening right now is smaller conferences.
Yeah.
Like team building exercises where not but I know you guys are involved with some of the medical stuff in Tampa, but I see it more like games, like where 2 or 3 people play a game of Operation, not a serious doctor, but something you do in between streaming videos of keynote speakers or going into the breakout rooms, and you put on the headset and you do a team building exercise, and then you take it off, and it's cheaper for them to just rent this for 2 or 3 days and send it out than for them to buy it, and they do that for their conferences. Is that something you guys could do? The type of games, small team building games?
Yeah, absolutely. I think content and especially games is really our forte. It's our core business. All right, most of our employees have game design and game development backgrounds, or are from industry like EA. So absolutely. In fact, we kind of have a saying or a mantra, but we strive to make everyday interactions playful.
I like it. What do you guys have on the horizon, let's say, for the rest of this year, maybe early next year?
Yeah, our focus going into next year is to kind of create more commercial products with our clients. I apologize for the background noise. There's another meeting going on right next to me. But we work with a lot of clients right now to take products to market. So from inception, like idea phase, to product launch strategy and things like that. We're really doubling down on consumer products in the XR space. That being said, though, our foundational business is a lot of development and service work for hire. but products, and we're just seeing a growing need for content creators such as ourselves to develop for these new emerging platforms. Like I said, right, you can do augmented reality on the web, right? You don't need any applications. No more installing apps on your mobile devices. Sometimes you don't even need to install apps on these headsets. You just launch a browser and the Oculus headset, and you can go right into a VR experience. The technology and the what we call the platform developers, the guys doing really a lot of the heavy lifting for content creators like 302 Interactive, are opening a lot of doors where somebody who's a novice programmer, a novice artist can start creating their own experiences in augmented reality, virtual reality on these different headsets like HoloLens and the Oculus headset. So once you see the advent of those platforms, right, and the maturity of those platforms, where the barrier to entry or in terms of technical expertise has been lowered, you start to see a boom. It's just like the Apple App Store, back in 2005, 2008, where that boom happened. Right now everybody can create an app. So we're definitely getting closer to that, and our company is kind of gearing up to be one of those content creators.
Well, good. Congratulations. Glad to hear you guys are doing well. Hopefully, there's something that comes out of this from some of the membership. I like to see a collaboration done, and I like to hear about it also, see how it goes. Are there any more questions? Anyone, you can jump in at any time, not any time now, and and let ask Robert a question. We are closing in on the meeting, and want to make sure everyone has a chance to speak with you.
Yeah, I'll
Bert,
go ahead and post my information, I guess, here.
yeah,
Um,
and I'll put it up also. Bert has a question. Do you know the HP Reverb?
yes, the Reverb 2 headset is definitely one of those ones that is what we call a higher end headset. It's the Reverb is not a standalone headset, still wired connection. Um, it's probably uh, the best headset out there. Definitely out competes the Vibe. Reverb 2 is an amazing platform. Um, it does eye tracking. It has 4K displays in each eye, so the quality is just insane. It's an awesome platform, mind you. And so we're very much doubling down on these standalone headsets or very accessible mobile applications. So anything that we can do with phones and wearables, um, I, I personally see the growth of of augmented reality there. But
Sorry to
Reverb,
jump in, but I think that
yeah.
just brought up a good point. You're agnostic. You can work with any of the rental companies based on the hardware they already invested in, right?
So,
Yeah,
saying HP Reverb is another substitute or option away from Oculus, basically.
yeah, absolutely. It is and apologies for not mentioning that earlier. Yeah, Reverb 2 is definitely a leader um, there, and Microsoft has definitely adopted uh, um, that as like their mixed reality platform of choice. HP and Microsoft used to be at each other's throats, but their HP has invested heavily into creating their hardware platform, and Microsoft wants to be the software that powers it.
But Robert, if an ITRE member already has a client and they need a quote for like a custom game or a training experience, you can work with the hardware that they already own. They don't have to go out and buy new hardware, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We work platform agnostic. We work in multiple different engines, coding engines, spatial computing engines like Unreal and Epic, Unreal, excuse me, Unity. And those are agnostic, platform agnostic. We even do Android and Apple, which is ARKit and ARCore. So we've worked in all of them.
Now, I put your email and Kyle's email in the chat for anyone that wants to get that. so I have a question. Are you guys doing the same thing, or am I contacting Kyle for something specific, or you for something different?
Yeah, Kyle's our basically our lead genius. He's outside of being CEO and managing the company, he's our lead engineer and visionary. So when it comes to solutions development, he'll always be a part of the process. I'm just the guy who shows up to talks.
All right. Well, if there aren't any more questions, ladies and gentlemen, Bob, I appreciate it. Thank you. You brought some great information and new information, I think, to the attendees. We will put this video up on YouTube, probably Facebook, I guess, as well. But thank everyone for joining, for attending, and again, Bob, thanks for letting us interview.
Thanks for the opportunity, Bruce.
You're welcome. You guys have a good day, and thanks again for joining.
Great. Thank you.
Guys.